Today we'll look into the AJAX post. We have already looked into AJAX GET request. Today we'll look into AJAX post request. So as you know, AJAX, we can use AJAX for the asynchronous request. Means you need not reload the entire page. Any part of the page which needs a refreshment of the data, you can check only that part and you can make a asynchronous call. And there are two types of asynchronous call you can make. One is using the get method and another is using the post method. So today we are going to see the post method. Okay. Post requests are often preferred to get request. One reason for that is the unlimited amount of a data. In case of a get, you'll be sending it as a query string, so there is a limitation on the data. If you use the post request, there is a unlimited amount of data can be sent along with the request. The reason being, the post will not generate a viewable URL for every action. In case of a get, we will have a viewable URLs in which you can see the query string. Post will not do that. Get requests are typically not used when we have forms because of a messy URLs and that limitation on how much data we can transmit. That is the reason why you don't want to use the get. With post, it is possible to transmit files as well, which is not possible with the get request. And HTTP 1.1 definition describes get as a safe method. Meaning of that is get method will not change any data. So that is why it is safe. Posts, on the other hand, are not safe because using post method, you can make the changes, okay, change the state of the system. So that is why post method is used. Post syntax is very identical to the get syntax. Whatever the get syntax we saw, it is almost exactly the same, except the instead of get, we are going to use the post. jQuery dot post. The first parameter is going to be URL. You have to specify the URL, the resource you are looking on the server. Then other parameters are optional. First one is the data. Then you can have the status, what kind of whether it is a success, whether it's a failure, and it's going to return the JQXHR object, and that object contains all the information, and optionally the data type, what data type is expected. Okay, earlier we saw the one example in the in that particular web application, user can vote. Okay, there are different options A, B, C, D. User can check the appropriate radio button and they can submit. And on submit, it will go as a asynchronous request, and whatever the status of different votes, it will reflect that data onto that particular page as a asynchronous request. As a response, you will get that particular data. In that particular example, we used the get method and option C was chosen. If we want to convert this into, instead of get, if you want to convert it to the post, what you will do is you will just change the get method to the post method and it will become a asynchronous post request. Then serialize can be called on any form object to return its current key value pairing as an and a separated string suitable for the use with the switch, suitable for the post method. So already we know serialize, we can convert anything. So it will be serialization is what any object or any other data can be converted into a binary kind of a data, which will be helpful in sending. And also we can unserialize. From that binary data, we can make the object. So using post method, what we can do is we can any data, any kind of a object. And let us say this you have with ID vote form, you are getting a element and you are converting it into a binary format using a serialized method. That post data can be sent along with the request. So you can see here $post. First one is the URL. This is the resource you are looking for, and you are sending this complete serialized data to the server. It turns out both the $.get and $.post methods are actually shorthand form of the jQuery.ajax. So this $.get is the representation of jQuery.ajax. So it is the shorthand method. Ajax method has two versions. In the first, it takes two parameters. What are the two parameters? One is the URL and the plain object, the containing any of the over 30 fields. So URL and the plain object. In the second version, it will be taking as a one plain object, and URL is one of the key value pair. So you are not separating as sending the URL. You are just sending the one parameter, which is a plain object, which will include the URL as a key value pair. Okay. For more verbose, you can have the request like this. The one line required to post our form using the get becomes more verbose code. So this is for example for the post method. You can say $.ajax, and this is the parameter. So this is the parenthesis, opening of the parenthesis and closing of the parenthesis, and you are sending one object. This is the opening of the opening curly brace, closing curly brace. This is one object, and you are sending all the information as a key value pair. For example, URL vote.php, data. This is the serialized data. This is exactly the same as this one, right? So this you are giving it as a part of the object. This you are giving it as a part of the object. URL o.php data dollar, and you are looking for the vote form ID, and you will serialize it .serialize, and asynchronous true. The type of the request is asynchronous, and the type is the post method. To pass HTTP header, if you want to pass the header to the AJAX method, you will just enclose inside the same plain object. And this is how it is illustrated. You had earlier URL, data, then a sync type as a key and value pair. Similarly, you can include the header. So you are including the header. The object will have user agent, whatever is the user agent, and referer. So you can include the header information as part of that particular plain object. Cross-origin resource sharing. Okay, since modern browsers prevent cross-origin request by default, which is good, right? We don't want the cross-origin request, but sharing content legitimately between two domains becomes harder because it is not allowed. So what we can use is the cross-origin resource sharing. Uses a new header in the HTML5 standard implement in most of the new browsers. So if you want if a site wants to allow any domain to access its content through the JavaScript, it should add the following header to all its responses. So if you want all the, like any site, if you want them to allow access the content through the JavaScript, then you can set this in the header. That is access -control -allow -origin : asterisk. So if you do like this, what will happen is any site which wants to access the content through the JavaScript, it will be allowed. But the asterisk is means what it is. You are allowing any site can come in and it can run the JavaScript, which is not a very good idea. The better usage is to use the specific domains. Okay, For example, here you are allowing www.funwebdev.com instead of using the wildcard. The wildcard means what? You are opening up for the all the sites to come in and run the JavaScript to access the content. So this is what you are going to add to the header. Asynchronous file transmission. Consider a simple form as defined below. So this is the example of a upload file upload form. This is the form, beginning of the form. This is end of the form. The name of this form is file upload. The ID given is file upload. Then ENC type, multi-part, / form data. The method we are going to use is the post method. And action, this is the PHP, upload.php. And here we have input, which is of type file, and the name is given as images, ID is given as images. So you can take multiple files as the input. Then what we have is the another button, which is a submit button. Name is submit and the type is a submit. So it is a submit button and value is upload files. On the button we'll say upload files. So if you want to upload the file using the asynchronous file transmission, one of the older technique is used to iframe. Okay, the original workaround to allow asynchronous posting of a file was to use a hidden iframe element to receive the posted file. So you are going to include the iframe so that you can submit that particular file to the hidden iframe. You can see here, this is when you click on the submit, it is going to submit. JavaScript creates a first step is the JavaScript will create a hidden iframe on the page. Second, the form is submitted into the hidden iframe. Whenever you click on the submit, the form will be submitted to the hidden iframe. Then JavaScript script sets up a listener on the iframe's load event and attaches a handler when the upload is complete and handler is executed. That is how it is implemented. So the listener, the iframe will have the load event and it attaches that handler so that that particular upload will be complete. This is the complete code using the iframe. Here is this is the document $document dot ready function where inside this particular event what we are going to do is set up a listener. So this is the listener setup dollar dollar bracket inside the double quotes we have :file. On that file we are setting on. So this is the way if you remember we set up the listener, right? You can say dot on. Whenever there is dot on method, you specify the event, what type of a event. This is change. If there is any change to the file, okay, then it will listen to those changes and what it will do, it will call this method upload file. Okay, this is the method that is will be called. Okay, then we have hidden input button. This is input, type is equal to submit, and if you say it is hidden and the display is none, so it will not be visible. The function is called when the file being chosen changes. Whenever there is a change in the file, the listener will listen it and it will call this particular function. And in that function, you can see hidden iframe is created. I have one variable declared. The name is HID name. Hidden iframe is the value given to that. Then I have a hash file upload. So hash file upload will get this one. This is the ID, right? So hash, this will get this particular control. That particular element will be, we get the object of that dot append. We are attaching to that file upload. What we are attaching, we are appending an iframe. So that iframe will be appended to this particular element. Iframe ID given is this ID, that is hidden iframe. This is the variable which is concatenated, and name is also same, that is hidden iframe. Style display colon none means we are making it as not visible on the browser. Then src is equal to hash, and this is the end of the iframe. So this is how we are appending it to it. Then we have to set the target property. To do that, you will access the that file upload element dot prop. So we use this prop method to set the property, and the property that we are going to set is a target, and we are giving the this variable, which is nothing but a hidden iframe. Means it is going to, the target is going to be the iframe. It is going to submit there. Submit the form now, and that image is in 8. So dollar, we are going to call on that particular element. We are going to call the submit method. Now we are going to register the load event of the iframe. So how to set that? We are going to access the iframe, that is with the ID. You can see here the ID we have set is a hid name, which is hidden iframe. So it is going to access that, excuse me, that iframe and dot load function. This is the load function, and this is the implementation. This is the start of the function. This is end of the function. Inside the function, what we are doing is we are getting the content, okay, content inner.html, and then dynamically to add the page from the file just uploaded. Then it will give the link. This will get the link. This is the iframe technique. Here, in case of a jQuery, we can, without doing creating the iframe, we can use the form data interface to upload the particular file as a asynchronous file transmission. Using form data interface and file API, which is part of HTML5, you no longer have to trick the browser into posting your file data asynchronously. So here, what we do is, when submit is clicked, a JavaScript interrupts the synchronous submission and uses the HTML5 form data to convert the reference file into a string. So form data will convert the whatever the reference file, whatever the selected file, into a string. Then asynchronous $.post transmits the data to the server and can have a listener execute on completion. So form data will convert it to an reference file into a string. Then $.post will transmit the whatever the data that is converted as a string to the server, and also we can have a listener to execute once the upload is complete, once the response is received. This is the code example. New form data technique. Function upload file, get the file as a string. You can see here. This is the file upload and the content. Okay, we are creating a form data object. That form data object will be stored in form data variable. Then we are creating an object of XML HTTP request, and to this object, this is a XML HTTP request object. To that object, we are adding the listeners. How to do that? Using the add event listener, xhr dot add event listener. So this is the event it is going to listen is load. Okay, and next is the error. If there is any error, and if there is any abort, we are adding 3 listeners onto this object. So it is going to listen to the load event, error event, and the abort event. And upon each of these events, so during the load, transfer complete, okay, we are going to call this particular method. This is the transfer complete. And if there is an error, transfer failed. And if it is a abort, then transfer cancelled. After that, we are going to call the open method. The method of request is the post, and this is the URL upload.php. This is the true reference for the asynchronous call. So this is going to be an asynchronous request. Then xsr.send method. This will actually send the form data, whatever is the form data you have created here from the actual file. So it will be converted as a form data, which is actually a string. That data will be sent, and it is going to listen to the events, and if it is upload is completed without any error, then this load event will be called. So transfer complete function is going to be called. So transfer complete, this is the function that is going to be called. What you are doing, you have a progress. We don't have the actual HTML, but something. This is the element which will show the progress of the file upload. Then you are making that it is kind of a bar dot css width is equal to 100%. So whatever that progress bar you have, you are going to make it as 100%, and also the HTML you are going to set it as 100%. And if it is an error, transfer failed, then you are going to pop up a message. Okay, the browser will pop up alert is used for that. A window will show up and it will display an error occurred while transferring the file. And if it is a abort, if it is cancelled, then also this transfer cancelled function will be called, and it will show a alert message that transfer has been cancelled by the user. So using the new form data interface, we can send the file asynchronously. When we consider uploading multiple files, so that is the example where we sent one file. Also, we can upload the multiple files. You may want to upload a single file rather than entire form every time. To support that pattern, you can access single file and post it by appending the raw file to form data object. The advantage of this technique is that you submit each file to the server asynchronously as the user changes it, and it allows multiple files to be transmitted at once. We'll see the code example. This will allow us, we can loop through those files and we can asynchronously send those files. This is the example. This is the example of posting a single file. We create a XML HTTP request, XHR, that is the object that is stored here. Then we reference to the first file. Okay? First file is that is stored in the file dollar. This is the file, okay, and the file's 0. So 0th index shows the first file. And once you have that, you will create a form data. Form data is equal to new form data. That new form data object will be stored in the form data. Then you are going to call the append form data dot append images, and you will give the file. Whatever is the first file, you are going to give that particular file to the images. That is the ID you have. Images is the one which is coming from the original form. So this is the images. Okay. So if you want to convert it into sending like multiple files, then how you can do is you will say all files you are going to access, not only the first file, you are going to access all the files. So for that, you will get a, when you say dollar inside the parenthesis, inside the double quotes, colon file, index 0 dot files, it is going to get the list of files, and you will iterate through that complete list, and then you will start appending to the form data. So variable I is equal to 0, I less than all files, dot length. If there are 10 files, the value of this would be 10. So it will iterate from 0 to 9. Then inside, what you are going to do, iteratively, one by one file, what you are going to do, you are going to append it to the form data. Append form data dot append images and all files I. So all files I is the it is going to index. So the 10 files will be indexed from 0 to 9. So that is how you are going to append all that to the form data. Next is animation. Some of the basic animation is included here, and that animation is implemented using the simple methods. First one is the hide and show method. It can be called with no argument to perform the default animation. Just it is a hide and show. Okay, and another version is it allows two parameters: the duration of the animation and callback method to execute on completion. So one method is just used without the parameter. It will hide and or it will display. And another version is you can pass two parameters. First one will tell about the duration, okay, for that particular thing to disappear, and the same duration will take up to make it as appear on the screen using the hide and show. And the second parameter is going to be a callback method. So that callback method, which can be called upon the completion of the animation. The next methods are fade in, fade out. So it will fade in and it will fade out. The shortcut methods to fade in and fade out, shortcut methods to control opacity of the element. So it will slowly change the opacity of the particular element on which it is called. The parameter passed duration, the callback. Similar to the hide and the show method, the duration will be like that particular duration will be used to fade in or fade out. Then this is the another method, slide up and slide down. You can see, so it will slowly slide down or it will slide up. Do not test the opacity of an element, but rather gradually change its height. So it will, the earlier methods, fade in, fade out, it will change the opacity. This particular slide up and slide down methods will change the height. It will not touch the opacity, it will change the height. So you will get like a feeling of it is coming up and going down. That is sliding up and sliding down. Next one is the toggle method. Toggle method is useful where you don't want to, if you are toggling between the status, any of those, if you want to call one method or the other method, you have to check what is the current status and then do it. For example, hide and show. If you want to either call hide or show, you should know what is the current status of that element. Based on that, you can call hide or show. If it is already hidden, you will call show. If it is displayed, then you will call the hide. If you want to toggle between those two states. If you want, if your requirement is like that, then you can use the toggle method where you need not worry about the current status. It will check whatever the current status, it will toggle. If it is hidden, it will make it appear. If it is already displayed, it will make it hide. As you may have seen, the shortcut methods come in pairs, which make them ideal for toggling between shown and hidden state. Using toggle method means you don't have to check the current state and then conditionally call one of the two methods. So you don't have to do that. Just call the toggle. It will change it to the whatever the state it should be from the current state. The toggle between the visible and hidden status, you can use the toggle method. To toggle between fading in and fading out, we can use the fade toggle. This is for toggling between the visible and hidden state. This is for fading in and fading out, that is fade toggle method. Similarly, for the slide in, slide out, we can use the slide toggle method. Next is the animate method. Animate method has several versions. But one we will look into the following form, which is dot animate properties and options. These are the two parameters that the animate method will take. The property parameters contains plain object with all CSS style. So this property will contain the plain object, all the CSS style of the final state of the animation. Whatever is the final state of the animation, that CSS properties will be contained here. The option parameter contains another plain object with any of the following option sets. And what are the option sets we have? Always, done, duration, fail, progress. These are the option set. Always is the function to be called when the animation completes or stops with a fail condition. So always this is the function called when there is when animation completes or there is a it stops in between with some failure. This function will be always called, hence the name. Okay. Then done function is called when the animation completes. So done function is called always is called all the time. Done is called when it is complete. Duration is number controlling the duration of the animation. So duration, whatever the number you set, that would be the duration of the animation. Fail is the function called when the animation does not complete because of some reasons. If it fails, the fail function is called. Then progress function is called after each step of the animation. After each step of the animation, a progress function will be called. Then queue is a boolean value telling the animation whether to wait in the queue or of an animation or not. So this queue will tell whether it should wait in the queue for the animation or not. Means whether it should be in queue or it should be doing the animation. If it is false, then animation begins immediately. Step is the function you can define that will be called periodically while the animation is still going on. So the complete animation is divided into a step, and this step function is called at every step, and it is called periodically during the animation. Advanced option called easing, special easing allow for the advanced control over the speed of the animation. So easing and special easing are called for the transition. Okay, or how it will transit from one state to another state. In web development, easing functions are used to simulate the natural type of movement. There are mathematical equations describe how fast or slow the transition occurs. So when it is transitioning from one state to another, so how fast or how slow that transition will happen. That is controlled by the easing functions, which are basically mathematical equations. Uh, Inside the jQuery, there are two easing functions, linear and the swing. So this is the linear function. This is how it is going to transition. And swing function, the transition would be like this. Okay. In case of a linear, you can see like there is a continuous and steady transition. In this, you will see there is some variation. This is the equation that is used. Okay. For the swing function. In jQuery UI extension provides over 30 easing functions. There are 30 easing functions, including cubic functions and bouncing effects. So you should not have to define your own. So there are 30 easing functions are there. By using those different 30 functions, you can have different kinds of transitions. This is the example. This is an example given for the rotation. Okay, so you can see here, this is the rotation. You can see this particular element is being rotated. That is the code for rotation. Dollar this dot animate. That is the method. Uh, this is the. You can see there are two objects that are passed. This is the first object. Okay. When you are calling the animate method, you will send the first one is the property and the second one is the the options. Okay, and options will contain the option set we looked into. These are the option sets. First one is the properties: opacity, show, font size 120%, margin, uh, right, 100 pixel. So this is the CSS of the final state when it is in the final state. Okay, here like it is not really final state. When it is on the final state, this is how it is going to look. It is going to show. Okay, then font size is 120%, and the margin right would be 100 pixel. Parameter to plain object with other options including step function. We have the step function and other options. We have function now comma fx. If the method was called for the margin property, okay, if method is called for the margin property, we are going to check that fx.prop is equal to margin right. Then we are angle, variable angle is equal to now divided by 100 into 360. This is a percentage of the full circle. Multiple rotation methods to work in multiple browsers. So these are the multiple rotation methods that are used. So they will work in different kinds of browsers. So for example, this is the .css transform, rotate. This is the angle that is calculated and degree. And duration is this is 5000. This would be in terms of the millisecond. 5000 millisecond is 5 seconds. And which is the easing function we are using? Easing function is the linear function we are using. So this is the example. At time t is equal to 0, animate, you can see opacity 0, then margin right is 0, transform angle 0 degree. At t is equal to 1500 millisecond. 1500. See opacity step 0.3 fx, margin right at 30. So it is going to calculate. Once it calculate, opacity is 0.3 and margin right would be 30 and angle would be 108. So this would be like 30 divided by 100, that is 0.3 to 360, which will come as 108 degree. So this is what is going to be set. 0.3 opacity, you will slowly increase, the margin will slowly increase, and the angle will slowly increase, means it will rotate. So it will start from 0, like all the way, it will rotate to 180 degree, 270, and come back to again 0. At time 1000, t is equal to 1500 millisecond. This is the parameters that are calculated. At time 3200 millisecond, these are the opacity has increased 0.64, margin to the right, the margin has increased, the margin has become 64, the angle has increased. At when the animation completes, that is at the duration is given as 5000 millisecond, that is 5 seconds. When that animation is done, that is when you will have the opacity is 100% or 1, margin is, this is the final state, right? Where is the final state? You can see this is the final state. Okay, opacity show, font size 120%, and margin right is 100 pixel. So margin is 100 pixel and angle is 0 degree, opacity is 1. That is the final status. So the opacity will keep on increasing, angle will keep on increasing, so that it will give a feel of making one complete rotation in 5 seconds.